All right, we've talked about seascapes and the shape of the ocean floor. Now we're going to talk about the processes that happen in the ocean, starting with tides. All right, so we live on a coast, so we know that we've got high tides when the water rises and low tides when the water falls. And the reason we have tides is because of the gravitational pull of the moon. Okay? So the moon has mass, which means it has gravity, and it pulls the water on Earth towards it. So if you look at this diagram of the Earth, you can see the water is actually being pulled as a bulge towards the moon. Now, the moon is not the only body near Earth that has a gravitational pull. The sun does as well. But the sun is so far away, its gravitational pull is smaller than the gravitational pull of the moon, but it's still pulling the water. So this means that if the sun, the moon, and the Earth are all in line together, the sun and the moon are pulling in the same direction, the tides are going to be very extreme. We call those spring tides. But as the moon orbits around Earth, if that causes the sun to pull in one direction and the moon to pull in the other direction, those gravitational forces are fighting against each other. That means that the tides are going to be weaker, and we call those the neap tides. Right? So we've got these extreme spring tides, smaller neap tides. And here, spring has nothing to do with the season, right? It actually happens about every 2 weeks. So I pulled the tidal charts from St. Simon's Island, and you can see that on October 8th, which was just a couple days ago by the time I'm recording this, we had huge spring tides. The tidal levels were the largest I have ever seen living here. I went to Southeast Adventures, the kayak place right next to Marshside Grill. The parking lot was completely flooded because of the high tide. Right? So that was a huge spring tide. We had really high highs, but also really low lows. A few days from now, right? I'm recording this on October 11th. So by the time you watch this, we'll probably be in a neap tide, right? So the highs will be just barely high and the lows will be just barely low because the sun and the moon gravitational forces are working against each other. And again, this cycle happens about every 2 weeks. All right, so the tidal reach, we call that, that's the vertical distance between high tide and low tide, right? The tidal reach, you might also call it the tidal range, right? And the region that is flooded horizontally, that's the intertidal zone, right? So if you go to the beach, anywhere that is flooded during high tide but exposed during low tide, that's the intertidal zone.